Hmm. And so I'm going to play the role of host a little bit today, and also yeah, and also just connect with you guys. And really, this is a forum. We're starting a dialogue and a conversation about spiritual relationships. And Deanna and I, we've over the years, it's a topic that we love discussing personally in our relationship, just to kind of be in a process of refining the way that we communicate and the way we interact with each other. It's always a work in progress, and always work to be done there. But it's something that, we see the results. We see the results and the benefit from taking a step back and creating that consistent forum where we can come together, on a regular basis, usually once a week. We kind of sit down and just say, like, hey, how are we doing? How are we doing as a couple? And how are we doing personally, with the way that we're taking care of ourselves and following through with our values and what's most important? And how can I be of service? How can I actually be of service in supporting you in your experience of life, and reconnecting spiritually, and reconnecting to truth and wisdom from within? And so something that we've made it a practice to do that. And then community members, reaching out, asking us about it. And so really it's just kind of bringing that dialogue, like her and I sitting on our couch, connecting about these different things, and just bringing that dialogue live. We're bringing you guys into our living room.
into our living room, into our personal conversations. Yeah. I think, everybody has heard before that a relationship takes work. And I think, like, for sure, there has to be time invested where, we check in with each other. Like, are you happy? Are you satisfied? Where are the places that you're not satisfied? And so there can be, dialogue and conversation, and, how can I show up and serve you better? And a relationship doesn't have to be all work. I think that's really important too. A relationship needs to also be fun and satisfying, and we put the work in so that there can be more fulfillment and more satisfaction, and an experience of growth. That's something that me and Vera have been talking about, that we all need to feel like we're growing in our life in order to feel satisfied. And in the same way, we all need to feel like we're growing in our relationships in order to feel like we're having a satisfying experience of relationship. And so if there's not, that time that's taken to, in the same way that, Vera and Doyle have been talking a lot about sadhana, like their spiritual practice. So if there's not that intentional time that's taken to connect with each other, how are we supposed to be growing in our relationship? And like Vera was saying, we're hearing from a lot of people that, you're spending more time together than ever, and you're realizing, like, I don't even know this person anymore. Or
aside from you and me, Dee, we're
this is how we communicate these
I'm
days.
quarantined. I'm quarantined in New York from Florida. They won't let me down there. So
yeah. And so it's like you don't even know the person that you're living with anymore. You don't even know how to connect. It's like if we were to sit down on a couch, like, what would we talk about? How would we even start the conversation? And so we wanted to just share. I mean, Vera's amazing at it. He is he's just so incredible at relationship, I think, in all aspects of life. But just some tools that we've been using. We've been together for almost 9 years. This year will be 9 years. And genuinely, like, from my heart, I can say I love Vera more today than I did 9 years ago, which I just think is so amazing, because oftentimes, with time, you think that the love or the spark or like all of that will fade. But I think because of the skills that, mostly Vera has brought into our relationship, I genuinely feel like, wow, like we're in such a deeper place than we were before.
You're so full of grace. You're so full of encouragement and grace. Go ahead, babe. I cut you off. What were you sharing?
Hopefully this can support you in your, whether you're in a relationship now, whether you're wanting to move into a more spiritual or conscious relationship in the future. Hopefully we can support you in that journey. And like Vera said, sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, share. Come on.
Like Vera said, we want this to be a conversation. So it's not only me and Vera sitting on our couch. Actually in separate states completely, but it's with you all too. And so we'd love to hear your input. We'd love to hear your questions so that we're connecting with you directly, and we're not just talking about things that we think that you want to hear, but we're actually speaking to the issues that are arising in your life, in your relationship right now. So please engage with us.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful, Dee, and yeah, just appreciating so much. Appreciating the opportunity to dialogue, and so yeah, please share your questions, please share your insights, and we're in this conversation together. We're in this journey together, and DG and I were talking about it earlier today. It's like this is just the time. Like we're taking half an hour, something like that. That we'll be on Instagram Live discussing this, and it's energy that we're putting into it. Just by we've created the space, we've created a container to invest energy into spiritual relationships. So just by tuning in, all of us kind of coming in with that intention, tuning into that intention that I'm here to invest in dynamic spiritual relationships. That's what I want in my life. I want that deep connection. I want that growing relationship with my partner, with my friends, with my family, with every person that I meet in my life. That's what I want in my life. That's a vision that I have for my life, and I deeply want that. Okay, let's put that energy into the bucket right now. Let's invest that energy right now, and it's going to yield results. We're going to see it yield results. Today, tomorrow, it'll the rewards will come from it. And so,
yeah, I just want to address this one question that Shaji wrote. Will indulging in spiritualism divert oneself from the real world? And our experience of it is that diving into spirituality connects us more deeply to the real world so we can actually engage with it in a meaningful way.
mm-hmm.
So not at all does it divert us from the real world. It allows
mm-hmm.
us to kind of have our feet somewhere stable so that we can engage in a meaningful and more productive way than ever.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, right? To the degree, and you brought this up just a little while ago, Dee, when you're saying to the degree I'm growing personally, to the degree I'm connected to myself personally, then to that degree, then I'm going to have the ability to share that much more. Like if I'm stuck in my own stuff and I'm disconnected from myself spiritually, then I'm completely reliant upon the validation of my partner for fulfillment. Mm-hmm. But if I'm experiencing some level of fulfillment in my own life, in my own practice, in my own connection to divinity, if that's there, active, I'm rejoicing within, I'm feeling that connection within through meditation, through prayer, through practice, through service, I'm fulfilled in my life, or I'm moving toward it. Okay, I can bring that into my relationship. So that's the idea of spirituality in relationships, is that what am I bringing to the table? As a spirit, what am I bringing to the table and bringing to the relationship as an offering?
Totally. That's something that you oftentimes remind me of, because I know that if I'm feeling disconnected from myself, if I'm feeling disconnected from God, it's easier to blame you and that I'm feeling disconnected from you. And so I could, come home and just be like, you're working too much, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, because, you are more tangible than me blaming God. Or you are more tangible than me taking responsibility for, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not, diving deeply into my sadhana. And so oftentimes our disconnect from ourself and from God shows up in our relationship. Mm-hmm. Where oftentimes, Vera, you remind me, hey, are you taking care of yourself? Mm-hmm. How has your sadhana been? Do you feel connected? Mm-hmm. And then I realize, wow, I'm feeling so disconnected from myself. And because of that, I'm feeling disconnected from you. Mm-hmm. So much of our relationship has to be rooted in, first, we're rooted within our, own self-care, whether it's our, self-massages or sadhana. And then we bring ourself fully to our relationship, and then we can do our work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful, Dhyana, and seeing more questions popping up. I love it.
Yeah, Bhakti speed dating. That's the one that stands out to me.
Sarah, love it. Start some Bhakti speed dating. Right, and it's such a, what is speed dating? It's so interesting, right? I guess there's one, let's see, from Hamburger Blondine. Do you have any suggestions how I can get him to more spirituality? I guess the immediate suggestion is, to be, if we're more loving, if we're more graceful, we're more compassionate, it's so inspiring. It actually, there's the idea that we can control our partners, or that we can kind of, nudge them, whether it's like very subtly or like it's very overtly, and to kind of nudge them in the direction that we think they should be going in. Or the other is like, let's be it, that if I'm practicing spirituality, if I'm going deep into meditation and I'm going into prayer and I'm connecting with God and I'm in service, that the way that I show up in my life, is going to be so much more compassionate, is going to be so much more loving, that's kind of the advertisement for spirituality. That's kind of like the enticement, for another person to be able to say, hey, you know what, I want to go a little deeper into that. So that's a little thought on it.
I saw this quote the other day. It says, I didn't come here to teach you. I came here to love you. Love will teach you.
Amazing.
Oh, it's so beautiful, because Doyle was also talking about this a couple days ago in your morning podcast. We're often so focused on trying to change the other person, but once we come to a place of fully accepting them, they're able to change, and it comes from them, not from an external source. And we've seen time and time again in so many of our trainings where, one of the couples is diving into spirituality, and then all of a sudden, without them trying to convince or prove or teach, their partner becomes so interested, because they notice a shift, they feel a shift, and you, not to be cheesy, but you become the change that you want to see. And so you bring that energy home with you, and the other person inevitably is affected by it, because we feel everything. We're affected by everything. Megan wrote this beautiful question. Things are good now in my relationship. How do I open up dialogue now about satisfaction without making my partner doubt things? My thought is, we're here to have the best relationship possible. I remember me and Vera talking before about if we're going to be in a relationship, this might as well be the relationship that we've always wanted. How can we be that for each other? And really, that's how we can show up. If Vera's always wanted somebody who cooks meals for him, and I never liked cooking, but it's okay, if that's what he wants in order to be really satisfied, let me learn how to cook, And so how can we be that person for the other person? And so I think it's just a conversation of hey, our relationship is so amazing and so satisfying. Let's take it to the next level. What else would you want to see to make you even more satisfied and more happy? And just to open that conversation.
It's beautiful too, right? Because it's a sensitive thing, right? It's something's going good, you don't want to disturb it, right? It's hey, we're, if I look at the, the scale of my relationship, I'm at a 10 right now. It's okay, how do I keep it at a 10? Wow, let's have a conversation of how we can keep this magic going. What is it? Totally, yeah. What are the things that we're doing that are really, helping us to feel supported by each other? What are the things that we're doing that really, feel nourishing and feel provide that deeper connection opportunity to grow together? And so it's okay, the 10 is there, but it's how do we keep it there? And then Dhyana's saying, hey, maybe we could even take it to the next level too. So just a dialogue of coming in with the desire to I want to serve you better. And I think that's always the beautiful offering. When we're coming into these conversations is I want to be better in my relationship with Dhyana. I want to be better in my relationship with my husband, my wife, my friends, my whoever it is. I want to be better. So let's have a conversation. How can I serve you better? What is it, that you really appreciate? What is it that makes you feel loved and cared for? And how can I just show up a little bit more in that way? And it's so simple, but it's so transformative, and then opens up such a beautiful opportunity for love and connection.
Totally. It's something that Raghunath says sometimes is, if you're having trouble in your relationship, just start appreciating your partner, and you'll start to see things turn around. And so I think that's another thing that, immediately speaking, can begin to upgrade your experience of relationship, is to just start appreciating your partner. Just see the little things and be grateful. And automatically that makes you feel better, because gratitude opens the heart like nothing else. And also the partner will feel encouraged to keep doing those things that you've appreciated in them, because it feels really good to be appreciated. So they want to keep doing the dishes, or keep putting their laundry away, or keep doing whatever it is that you're seeing. To appreciate rather than nag and things like that.
encourage and appreciate, be
Yeah.
grateful, like see that, and like by holding that space and bringing that energy, then you bring it out of your partner more. Bring it
I
out of
know
your
we
partner
had some
more.
things that you wanted to talk about. We haven't started yet.
Well, yeah, well, we put it on Instagram that we were going to talk about some things specifically, and yeah, I think it's okay, cool. So let's talk about it. I guess this is the premise. This is the premise of the conversation is that we want to be in a process. This is something that I've been really meditating on recently, just with the organizational shifts that we're going through at the Bhakti Center, which is, I mean, right now we went from a 95% in-person experience to 100% online experience overnight. That was basically, what has been asked of us. That's what's been asked of us by destiny. And so, yeah, a lot of shifts, and there were shifts taking place before that. And so, how do we get to the point where we're in the process of refining, in the process of refining an organization, in the process of refining a relationship, in the process of refining our life, where it's not just like I go on and take an online class, or I pop in for a podcast, or I go and see a therapist, or I go like that. I'm just going like, and it's like a dot on a linear line, but actually I'm creating like this closed loop where, yeah, I'm starting to understand like what are the principles and the practices in relationship that really provide the environment for us to flourish in our dialogue, for us to flourish in our connection with each other. And so that's a big conversation, and that's something that that develops with time. But the idea of us getting in a process is kind of that's the premise. And there's a few principles that I was thinking of to start to get us to kind of, okay, like how can we all look at our relationships as a process? How can we look at all of our experiences with each other as like a process that's being refined and being further developed as time goes on? And so that's the idea, the premise. And there's 3 C's. So I share this with Radhika Ranjan, and I share this also in coaching calls oftentimes, is commitment, communication, and community. And commitment is, what am I committed to? Is that first question and somehow or other, I just, right before the call, I found these. I was thinking about Dhyana, and I was like, oh my God, like we laminated our wedding vows, and oftentimes we'll reflect on them, or, every now and then we'll reflect on them. And what our wedding vows were a vision. It was a vision for our relationship. It was, how we saw each other, like in the greatest light, how we saw each other. We reflected that. How we were going to show up, what we were vowing and promising to show up as. And what we saw was the ultimate goal of our life, and supporting one another in that goal. And so whether we did that in our wedding or not, it's like to come back to that wherever we are in relationship right now, to come back to the vision and really to kind of see like, okay, who is this person? What is the opportunity that's at place right now for me to be able to grow our relationship toward a vision? And that's something that just is, it's an individual, and then it's a collective process of weaving our visions together. And so commitment is really, okay, what am I committed to? And just asking that question, what's our vision for life? And are we making movement toward that vision? Are we showing up in such a way to support each other to move toward that destination, toward that vision, toward that goal together in our relationship?
I think like oftentimes in relationship, we're just like, I'm committed to you. I'm committed to you. I'm committed to you. And that's like the depth of the commitment. I'm committed to you no matter what. Where I feel like oftentimes that's not enough, because, when we say that, it's like we're committed to you, but you are always changing. Your moods always change, your emotions always change, like what you like and don't like change, your job might change, how much money you have or don't have, that will change. And so what are we actually committed to? And I feel like in order to create the vision, we have to dive deeper into what is it that we're committed to in relationship that helps me to stay connected to you, like who you really are beyond all of these external things that are always changing. And so, for example, it's like I'm committed to loving you like even when it's the last thing I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when like my heart just wants to close, I'm committed to that process of learning how to love even when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to growing, and so meeting challenges with curiosity and openness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to continuously showing up when it'd feel a lot easier to just leave,
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm just committed to you, as you change, as all these external things keep changing, my feelings are going to change,
Mm-hmm.
and so oftentimes me committing to you, it stays at kind of like a more surface feeling level, because then as soon as, you show me a side of you that isn't really pretty, then I leave, because it doesn't make me happy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has to be a commitment to something deeper than just each other. And like Vera was saying, it's like a commitment to a process.
Mm.
It's a commitment to being in a process together that helps us awaken to a deeper love than the
Mm-hmm.
circumstances, a deeper love than something that I feel right now, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not always going to feel it. But actually, a post I wrote today, it's like love is deeper than a feeling. Love
Mm-hmm.
isn't a feeling. Love is so much deeper than that. And when we get to the depths of love, we start to feel something that we never knew was even possible to feel. And so it's an interesting thing.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, Dhyana. You're just reminding me of a blessing. Doyle, he shared his wedding blessing and I saw Rasika, she tuned in also, and Doyle, that Radhanath Swami was at their wedding. Dear teacher and friend of ours, and he gave him a wedding blessing. And the same, he gave Dhyana and I the same blessing for our marriage as well, just I think a week or two before our marriage, or a short period before our marriage, that you're not, she's not your wife first. She's a daughter of God that's been entrusted in your care, and Dhyana, he's not your husband first. He's your husband, right? But he's not your husband first. He's a son of God that's been entrusted in your care. And so showing up in that relationship, showing up in that way to be able to awaken that gradually through loving each other, through, circumstances, through difficulties, through challenges, being committed to that vision, we begin to awaken that. And there's a lot to that. There's so many, because I saw the question come in. It's like, hey, what about a toxic relationship? Okay, like I'm committed, I really want to make this happen. I really want to follow through. I really want to surrender. Like I'm doing everything I can to give myself to this person, give myself to the process. But like, man, like how do you know? How do you know when it's toxic? How do you know when it's, actually this person is trying to hurt me. This person's actually antagonistic toward me and trying to really rip me down, And so that comes up too.
I think it also has to be a mutual commitment, like if I'm committed to loving you no matter what and supporting you, but you're just not on that same page, then it's not relationship. We're not really connecting on the same plane. And so there has to be a mutual understanding in order to go deeper together, and so if you're, showing up, I know I was in a relationship before where I had that mood that like to really love completely and fully means that I stay no matter what. And it was a very toxic relationship, but I felt like love means that you just keep showing up and you keep loving no matter what. But then at a certain point, I realized that actually, like, love is meant to be reciprocated. Love isn't a one-way stream. And if that person isn't also showing up in honesty and integrity with, the same level of commitment, then it's not relationship. Relationship has to be reciprocated. And of course there's going to be times when Vera shows up more than I do because I need more support, or I show up more than he does because he needs to be held. But those are like times where, generally speaking, we show up for each other, when it's needed.
Yeah, I'm loving what you're sharing, Dean. It's kind of like the difference between like, okay, hey, sometimes we're not perfect, right? And we know that in our relationship. Sometimes I'm going to show up and I'm angry, or sometimes I'm going to, fumble and make a fool of myself, or I really want you to listen to what I have to say rather than showing up and being empathic toward you. So there's going to be those moments in our relationship, and there's going to even be those phases sometimes, like days or periods. But when it comes down to it, when we get back to the conversation, which I think that's really why we want to create this alive process. We want to create this rhythm to checking in, with our vision, with our values. What are the
That
Yeah.
brings up a question that Neha asked. I've been inclined towards spirituality and Ayurveda. How important is it to find a partner who shares similar values as yours?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah. And
think?
so, well, yeah, I mean, just, just in that same stream is like, okay, if somebody's committed to the same values, maybe, right? Maybe I'm gonna slip on those values every now and then, or I'm gonna slip on those values for a period of time. But I'm still committed to that vision when it comes down to it. I'm not saying like I'm not committed to living spiritual life, or I'm not committed to showing up and being empathic and compassionate and supportive in my relationship. I'm just really struggling right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm going through something. I'm taking responsibility. I'm going through a really difficult time. I'm in a challenging place right now. I'm still committed to that. Please stay with me. Like
Yeah.
please help me through this. And
Like yeah.
even in that, we empower each other. We really empower each other and bring the best out of each other, even in our darkest and most challenged times in
Yeah.
relationship. And we live through the relationship to see that transformation take place. And
Yeah.
I mean, man, when we see a friend go from depression to being alive and feeling connected and expressing themselves and connecting in the world, there's nothing greater, right? It's nothing greater, whereas if I was like, forget it, you know what? Like, this isn't comfortable right now. I'm not feeling this. Like, swipe them to the side, like next, right? No, then it's shallow, right? We're not going to get that depth of transformation and deep, unconditional love that we're all seeking, we're all looking for.
Totally. That's beyond, the things that are always changing, the
Mm-hmm.
external things. And so to find somebody who's committed, like Doyle just wrote, like the higher principle, like there has to be a higher principle in your relationship that you're committed to beyond just, you're really handsome, you have a lot of money, you're really, it's like beyond the moods, the emotions, the external things. There has to be a higher principle that both parties are committed to.
Mm-hmm.
And regarding values, like I think it is very important for either values to be aligned, or for both partners to be fully willing to support the other person and what they value.
Mm-hmm.
Like say you value spirituality more and I value health more. Like it could be like a point of discontent. Like, why is she always, taking baths? Why isn't she chanting her japa more? Why isn't she, like, it could just be like these things like that. Or I could be like, why is he, whatever it is. But if we can understand what the other person values, and if it's not fully aligned, seriously think, is this something that I could support that person in? Because I know they value it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something that I'm going to judge them for?
Mm-hmm.
So either values are deeply aligned, or you can fully support the other person in pursuing what they value. I think those are the two.
And we see so many examples of that in the community. I love Doyle and Rasika right now. I love it. Oh my god!
I think we have to have a double date on here one day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get somehow get all four of us on here, right? When we're all back together.
Veer, whenever you one day make it down to Florida, or I come back up there, and then we can have me and you in one square, and Doyle and Rasika on another one.
Amazing.
Oh, now they're flirting on the chat.
And so, yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Doyle was sharing, Radha Swami said that 3 most important little words in a relationship are forget about it, meaning that some of the things we get worked up about aren't that important as the higher principle. And so, yeah, it's so beautiful. And so many examples in our community that we're seeing is, one of the most beautiful examples. I'm just thinking about a community member right now, and there's actually so many of them that, whether it's a guy that's coming here and that is just, they're loving bhakti, they're loving connecting to God, and they're getting into meditation, and they're, getting into living a life of service, and they're getting into it, right? They're really feeling it. They're really having this transformative experience, and their partner is riding that wave with them. Isn't necessarily coming to the Bhakti Center and coming for kirtans and coming and joining into all the same activities, but they're seeing their partner flourishing. They're seeing their partner happy. And they're like, go girl, go boy, like go, like this is beautiful.
Yeah.
This makes you happy. Like, how can I support you? If this is what brings you joy, how can I show up for you? And yeah, let me come into your life a little bit. Let me meet your friends. Like, I may even have a different religious faith, or I may even have a different practice, or I may even have a different community, but like, I'm with you. I love seeing you flourish. I love seeing you happy, and I'm here to support that. And so we don't have to share the exact same vision, but the willingness to support each other, and that it is, you know, it is supportive. There's this mutual support that we're able to create. Our visions aren't opposites, you know, and that's what when we talk about vision, we talk about, you know, getting together as a couple, and what are we actually committing to, is that even if we're in different religious faiths, right, that sometimes religions have gone to war, right? We look through history. Religion has been the cause of so many battles and hardships and war and suffering, you know, and we also see people come together. They're sharing different religious faiths and backgrounds and incredible unity in this diversity. And so that's something that the vision has to support, you know, in the core and the heart of it. We've got to be willing to support that. It's got to be a realness to it and an alignment to it. And so we're, yeah, there we go. Me and my partner in an interracial couple where I believe in God and he's an atheist. Okay, how can I support him in that part, right? Okay, I was reading that different. I was thinking about a couple when I was reading that, thinking that they're interracial and they have different religious faiths and they just serve together. They just are passionate about loving and serving each other and connecting to God in their unique and individual ways, and respecting and valuing the way that the individual is connecting and supporting him in it. So that's a big question. How can I support him in that part? I'm going to pause on that, Remy, and just because, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
speaking?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, something that I think about often is that, you know, in a relationship, it's always a choice, like to be with somebody. And if you're choosing to be with them, then love them. You know, we can spend so much time, again, trying to change them. But if you're going to choose to be with this person, you know, whatever their beliefs are, if you're choosing to be with them, then how can I show up and love this person no matter what? As they are. Yeah. As they are, with whatever beliefs they have. I mean, it can be a challenge for sure. That's a big difference in kind of a foundational, like, core belief system. But it's workable if you choose to show up and serve each other. And then, you know, God, love reveals itself through the heart, through a heart that is serving, through a heart that is loving. And so, again, like, we're not here to teach or prove, we're here to love. And then love teaches, love reveals all things with time. So, and truth will always reveal itself. That's also something to know. So beautiful. Comes out in the end.
It's so beautiful, Dhyana. Yeah, and that's something that's really a theme of Bhakti, you know, and really a theme that, you know, it's weaving through Doyle and my conversations in the morning also, is like, man, like, okay, I'm showing up. I'm 100% in this person's experience. I'm 100% with them. And I'm here to offer love. I'm here to offer grace. I'm here to offer a gift, you know. And in that, whether someone has the same religious faith or background, or atheist, agnostic, etc., like, if I'm coming to that again and again, and they value that, and they value love, and they value connection, it's transformative. It really is powerful. And we're not doing it to change somebody. We're doing it to change ourselves. I'm not loving my partner so that they'll love, you know, one day, then they'll, you know, that's my tactic to get them to transform. It's like, no, like, I'm seeking transformation. Like, I'm seeking an experience of life where I'm loving, where I'm showing up and I'm loving. I'm seeking to change myself, and then bring that to the relationship.
It's what always feels better is to choose to love. Like, it doesn't feel good for the heart to be closed. A great teacher, Michael Singer, he says that there's nothing worth closing your heart over. Because me closing my heart doesn't feel good for me either. You know, it doesn't feel good for the other person, but also it's not a good experience for me. And so really the process of love is how, again, it's like, how can I keep loving even when it's hard? How can I keep loving the parts of myself, the parts of unlovable? And so how can I keep loving? How can I keep my heart open? And that's really the journey of relationship. How can we learn to love unconditionally? And really, it's seeing the part of you that is steady, even as everything else keeps changing. The part of me that is steady, that only knows how to love. You know, my soul only knows how to love, but there's all these conditions that I've placed around my heart, these walls that I built around my heart because I've been hurt before, because I've been cheated on before, because I've been lied to before. And so I have all these walls thinking that I'm protecting myself. But actually these walls are keeping me from experiencing the love that I so deeply yearn for. And so how do we keep loving beyond our own self-built walls, but also, you know, the experiences, the conditions that our partner has also had, that make them act out in a certain way, that make them get, you know, upset or angry, or make them show the parts of themselves that maybe we feel like are ugly. You know, how can we keep loving them because their essence is completely lovable? And these other parts of themselves that we feel like aren't lovable are the parts of them that have been hurt. And so that's ultimately how we can even help each other heal through relationship, is loving the parts of them that have been hurt. I know, it makes me want to cry too. You know, then we realize, you know, we can remember, you know, who we really are in our wholeness.
Oh man, I'm feeling your love. I'm feeling your love. You love me. I know it. I'm feeling your love. Thank you, babe. Thank you for loving me through my ugliness, and loving me through whatever junk that I bring to the table. And I, you know,
being
yeah.
in the that's with me, because I feel like, yeah, commitment. Like I feel like, you know, I feel like that's kind of our theme for this talk. I think we can talk about communication in our next talks, but I feel like commitment is everything, because it allows us to trust that, you know, you're there. You're gonna hold me. You're not going anywhere. And I feel like to know that there's that foundation in a relationship, is there's this safety just to allow those other parts that need to be healed to heal, you know, and to deeply feel like, all right, we're in this. We're going to go through this together. And sometimes it's going to be amazing and so beautiful and so love-filled and so joyful. And other times it's going to be maybe boring or monotonous. And other times it's going to be frustrating and hard. And I'm going to not want to talk to you for a couple of days. You know, it's like, it's everything. It's the full banquet of human experience, but we're committed to riding those waves together. And to know that there's a together, I feel like is everything. Like we need each other. Relationship is everything, because it's the vehicle that love can be expressed in. And we need somebody who's committed to that process with us. Whether it's, you know, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a wife, a husband, a friend, a mother, a child. We need to, we need each other, basically. We need each other.
So beautiful, Dhyana. And yes, let's talk on communication. I guess just for a moment, you know, just on that, right? It's like you're riding that wave, and I hear your inspiration, you sharing from your heart. It's so beautiful, Dhyana, and that it's, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, ultimately, you know, I'm looking at my experience of life, and okay, all those parts of myself that I can't accept, all those parts of myself that are ugly, that just end up getting triggered in relationship, that end up coming out and spoiling, you know, the opportunity for loving connection that we're seeking, you know, that just come in and like just try to tear it down, you know, whatever is going on inside, you know, to be able to recognize that, to be able to see that in ourselves, and start to work on that inner dialogue and that communication that's taking place in our own minds and our own hearts. And then the other side of it is, you know, okay, now how am I being responsible when I do communicate with my partner and I do communicate with my friend? How am I being responsible? The words that are coming out of my mouth right now, I know that they have an effect, and what's my intention behind those? So we'll talk about those two aspects of communication when we get together next. The inner dialogue, the inner communication that's taking place, and then also the outer dialogue, you know, what comes off of our tongue, and, you know, what's the process of how we can really actually share and receive communication in a way which is transformational. So any closing thoughts you're having, babe? Or there's so much love flowing here, and great questions and insights, and anything that you're thinking in closing today? First commitment, then, sorry, what was that?
Then love. First
Then love.
commitment, then love. That's what I Heart Shanti just shared. I know I really appreciate this conversation. I really appreciate all of you who have tuned in. Are we going to be doing this every Wednesday? What's our plan? Vera?
I would love to do it. I'd love to do it with you every day. Let's talk about it. And, you know, based on what you guys are looking for, you know, if this is a helpful dialogue for the community, really, like, you know, Deanna and I, and the same thing with Doyle and I, it was kind of like, okay, if we'll have a conversation. If people, you know, they want to have a conversation, okay, we'll have a conversation, sure, you know. And if we're hearing that from the community saying like, hey guys, like, this is a great dialogue, this is really insightful, this is helping me in my spiritual practice, helping me in my connection with my partners and my friends and family, and I want to go deeper into this topic of relationships and communication, then we want to share it with you. We want to keep it flowing. And so at least next Wednesday at the minimum, and you know, let's take it from there.
Amazing. Yeah, and please feel free to DM me personally with different topics that you're interested in. And yeah, we look forward to continuing the conversation. And next Wednesday, we'll talk about communication. I feel like that's a really, really important topic. And it's actually a skill that I believe needs to be developed. I remember I was talking to Vera the other day, and I just said, I feel like a good man is a man who knows how to communicate. And obviously that goes for a woman too. But I was just feeling like wow, like a man who knows how to communicate is just so powerful. It's the skills of communication, so we can explore that next week together.
Amazing. Yeah, please send us your insights, send us your reflections, your realizations. We want to learn from you guys. Love Doyal, Rasika, you guys sharing your insights and reflections, super, super powerful. And yeah, any questions that you guys have, any topics you want to explore, please DM Bhakti Center or DM Dhyana or I personally. Vira Tanzi on Instagram and Dhyana Mazla on Instagram. We're here to serve you guys. We love you. Super, super grateful to connect this morning.
Viva.
Arriba.